It's Friday night, everybody. You know what that means. It's Friday night. Let's have some fun. Let's get together and play a ton.
Hi, I'm Matt.
And I'm John.
And we're
Friday Night Games.
We want to immerse you into our love of the hobby by educating and entertaining you through our board gaming adventures. Our podcast lands every Friday, and we create content for Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube.
This episode is sponsored by TabletopRenaissance.ca, located in our hometown of Windsor, Ontario, Canada. They have a new web store, so check out TabletopRenaissance.ca for your board game and tabletop miniature needs.
Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of Friday Night Games Last Game Standing. Starting with 5 games chosen by 5 amazing content creators, one game will be voted off each week until there's only one game left.
On the last show, we had guest Dice and Dragons, and we ended up voting off Fort.
What the heck?
Yeah, it was a surprise on everyone's part, I think. But afterwards, we had a great conversation about IP games, and Jason is very knowledgeable in this area. He loves, Power Rangers?
He loves like every IP
Everything.
game.
Power Rangers is
anime games are his thing too. Him and Japanime. But yeah, definitely make sure you check out the last 3 episodes. They're really good and funny. And there's only 2 episodes left, so this is the second last episode left of the series. So there's only 3 games left right now, and we're going to put off another one tonight.
Right.
There also might be another episode after.
Yeah, we're going to have like a recap episode with 2 of our Instagram followers.
They also followed us a lot on
Twitch.
Yeah,
So,
we don't do that anymore, but they were like our 2 people who were always on. So
we're excited.
Okay, so on today's show, we're joined by Norm and Ryan of Bridge City Boardgamers. Say hello.
Hey, folks.
Howdy.
They bring their own sound effects. This is awesome.
Nice.
I have no idea where that came from. I'm just we're building the hype. It's exciting. We're like one of the last 3, man.
Yeah,
I can't believe we're still in this.
Yeah, I know. You guys are still in, which is awesome. I don't know why you can't believe it. It's clearly made it this far. And you beat out Fort, which I thought might have went to the final round. So, good job.
There we go.
There you go.
And
I have to say I feel sorry about that. So that someone has to go, right?
Yeah, I feel I feel a big Canadian sorry coming on too.
And I'm sorry that you guys made it so far and have to do all this work for us.
All the work's done.
I'm sorry it's not a. Yeah. I apologize if it's not the quality that you guys are used to. So
No, it's
great.
Excellent quality. Okay, so today they're going to help us vote off 1 of 3 games that are left, which are what, John?
Merv, which is elected by Bridge City Boardgamers, Rallyman GT, elected by Room 51, and Aeons and Outcast, elected by Dice and Dragons.
Okay, so Ryan and Norm, tell everyone where they could find Bridge City Boardgamers.
Okay, so where can you find us? Let's see here. We're a weekly podcast called Cardboard Conjecture. It releases every Saturday. And you can find us on all of the podcasting thingamajiggers that are out there. What is it? Like iTunes, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, all of the things. If you listen to podcasts,
all of them, yeah.
All of them. And then we also have our main social media platforms that we're very active on Twitter. Every now and then I hop onto Instagram, both at BC Board Gamers. And we also got a YouTube channel, BC Board Gamers, Bridge City Board Gamers. There is stuff up on there. And now that the summer break is happening for us teachers, we can actually start pumping out some more content onto there this summer. So
nice, looking
we'll
forward
get a little,
to it.
Get a little 2-month explosion of stuff, and then next 10 months nothing.
Yeah. Feast or famine. That's our media production philosophy.
Teachers are really busy, so thank you for educating those kids, especially during this really hard time. I'm assuming most of your stuff was online, so I'm sorry about your luck there.
Yeah, well, I apologize to all my students already for the lack of education that may have happened this year.
Yeah, well, it was more survival. Yeah,
it was my kids' first year of school, so they were in JK, and the other day we got to say goodbye to their teacher, and I was just like, man, I feel so bad for you, because Ontario government has made it very difficult to be teachers the last 2 to 3 years. So the fact that like they've been resilient through this entire pandemic with all the crap they had to put up with prior to that, I thank you guys so much for everything you've done. You know, made this year as good as you can make it, and they're like so appreciative. Anyway, side note.
So thank you too, because honestly,
thanks, man.
It's a tough job.
Yeah.
I've been there, I've done it, and it's a really tough job. So I'm assuming this was just double the toughness. So thank you.
I feel like I feel like over the last 12 years of teaching, I've also could probably have an acting degree.
That's why the two of you are good at podcasting, honestly, right? Like
teachers have become very good improvisationists, that's for sure.
Yeah, I actually, when I was a substitute teacher, my joke was that every time I was up in front of a class, it was just the same comedy routine over and over. I had the same jokes and everything.
I had a group of kids convinced one year that I said, I don't actually have a teaching degree. I just showed up one day, started teaching, and then just gave me a job. And they totally believed me.
It's like Kramer and Seinfeld. I don't actually work here.
So you guys you started to do a really cool segment on your show, which is Cardboard Conjecture. So you started doing the hype train.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, actually, before we get into that, I just want to really apologize for not having the two of you on sooner. I am actually really sorry. I just want to say that we suck and we are really slow at doing things. Like we schedule people. There's actually one person who's gonna be on the show in August, and we scheduled her like I want to say like September last year.
Yeah.
That's how slow we are. So thank you for doing this. We apologize, like sincerely.
This is an apology competition, isn't it?
It really is. Yeah. Bring it on.
Well, all right. Well, sorry about that. So I think I just walked into Ryan's, because we teach together. So I walked into Ryan's classroom and I went, hey, I got this idea, which usually is the conversations that start him giggling, going, okay. So it was just this idea of having the opportunity to talk about some of your favorite games that are like they're not even near the ballpark. They're so outside of the ballpark. And just in the past like 6 years, all the volume of games, and not to say that that's a bad thing, but just like the music industry, right? There's just some college band that you've never heard of that just scratches that itch in your brain, and the only way that you're going to know about it is if people talk about it. So I thought, and there was two objectives to that. One was, let's talk about games that I've never heard of that I need to know, and two, to have an opportunity to have a lot of this new community, have some opportunity for us to talk face to face, and this is exactly the outcome that I was looking for with that What You've Been Playing initiative.
And point number 3, spend Ryan's money.
Oh, yes. And see, that was the meta. It was like, can I get Ryan to buy a game every episode? And so far, I think it's been close.
Yeah. That's awesome. So back to that community point, I think like the Canadian community that we've created, definitely the Canadian community that you've created is amazing. There is a lot of us now, and we're doing like great things. In fact, we're doing all weekly segments together on the What You've Been Playing Wednesday. So definitely check that out. That's through the Cardboard Conjecture podcast. And I think it's amazing. I think that like the group that we're creating is fantastic.
Oh, I'm having so much fun. To me, it was in the hallway. Hey, Ryan, I got this idea. And then,
yeah. And then just that one day, like Christmas break, I'm just like, okay, Norm, I'm pulling the trigger. I'm inviting everybody. What can we do here?
That was so funny. I'm like, okay, so I was thinking about that idea that I had, and he goes, oh yeah, I invited them. Okay, so I guess we're doing it then. All right, so I guess January 1st we're starting. And I mean, like you guys know, with content creation, you can have great ideas till the cows come home, but unless you sit down and put the work in, or just actually take a step forward. I mean, if you probably the same opinion, go back and listen to our first episode, and it's like, oh wow, man, there's no pocket, like a band starting out, a drummer and a bass player, you got to find that pocket, right? So it took us a few episodes to find that groove, to find that format, or that little chemistry kind of thing.
Man, I really love how you did pull the trigger on that, because it's really brought together us as a community. So like, for instance, you're on our show and we've been on your show, but also like all the other people are kind of interacting with each other, and they're trying to do things with each other, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, and going back on your point where like you just gotta pull the trigger on stuff, I know that's Matt and I are trying to find some new ways of doing some of our content and trying to figure out how YouTube's going to work out for us, because it's a lot of work to do video stuff. And, you know, we both work full time, and I've got 2 kids and I'm in school, so it's like it's tough to find that content creating time.
Yeah.
We've got so much other stuff going on.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. We'll try something fun and see if it works.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
definitely need to, like, so backing up your point there, if you don't do, you're never gonna figure out what you like doing or how easy it is either. So like we have a bunch of different things on YouTube that we've done, and some of them have taken off and some of them haven't, but then we're like, oh, that's still a lot of work, so I don't really want to keep doing this. I like the podcasting. It's a lot of fun. I like writing scripts.
Cool.
Anyways, so back to this whole segment here. What did you think of my hipster list? And just lay it on me. Like, make fun of me, whatever you want. Go for it. My hipster list
Ryan,
of
you
games
go.
for this.
Okay, well, I didn't have like a huge issue with like the hipster list, because I actually had played. I can't remember what you were calling for originally. It was like, oh yeah, who's played like 5 to 6 of these, and then they weren't obscure titles.
No,
like
yeah.
I had heard of all of them. I'm just like, oh, I've only played like 2 or 3 of those. Is 2 or 3 okay? And I remember typing that message, and then you guys mentioned like. Everybody just responded to us. Oh, I played like 1 or 2 of those. I played 1 or 2 of those.
That's
Well,
what
they
we
weren't
got.
obscure titles.
That's what we
They weren't
got.
obscure titles.
Yeah.
I think it was probably like a very difficult list to develop, considering the isolation pandemic factor, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, first of all, a lot of people say just trying to, like as we described, trying to get our jobs done and all this other stuff done. And if you have any extra time, you're probably just recharging your battery. So for me, when I looked at that list, I thought, I want to play that one. 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 I want to play. Yeah. So it wasn't a matter of, it's like not interested in the list. It was like, oh, I wish I could, play these games if I threatened my family, play with dad or else. Right. But I think once again, like we talked about content development, once you guys understood, like Ryan and I as teachers, when we do unit planning or lesson planning, it's like, well, this is what I wanted, but the students kind of did not want that, or kind of I had to steer it into a different direction. And I think that what you guys pivoted, you pivoted into a real cool direction.
Thank you. Yeah, that actually came from my teaching days. The exact same philosophy that you talk about, I actually did into this, because I'm like, if I want to do this, this is a great idea.
Yeah.
I needed to get it out there, but if it needs to change, then so be it.
Yep.
Including my voting today.
There we go. and the best part is Matt did all the work. I'm just participating as much as you guys are. So Matt wrote everything. It was Matt's game picks, and I had no say.
Yeah.
Well, you had a
Except
little bit
for
of say, and then
what
I told
we
you that
wanted.
we're not doing that game, and then
So,
sorry.
And if I've listened to the past episodes correctly and everything like that, I'm an outlier where I think that Dune Imperium and Lost Ruins of Arnak are great games. I don't think that they were the best game.
Oh, this is a
of
good
2020.
segue.
So-
What is the best game then?
For me,
Yeah.
so I released, so at the end of the year on New Year's Eve, I always release my top 10 of 2020. And I do a countdown starting at 3 p.m. all the way to midnight of the top 10. And so, when I look back at that today, I think my number one still is number one. That was Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion.
Nice. I actually remember that list.
Yeah.
Now that you mentioned it, I remember that list.
And Lost Ruins of Arnak was on that list.
yeah,
And so were some of the other games that were on your hipster list too.
Awesome.
yeah. Like for me, Jaws of the Lion, it's been so tough for me to get that on the table, because I don't have a game room at my house, so I play on my kitchen table. I can't just leave it set up. So it's like time intensive to put it up, and then I have like an hour to maybe play a game to myself. And I was playing it solo, so it's tough for me to get into it, but I really want to.
Yeah. So we played it. I played it with my wife. It was actually the first her introduction to the Gloomhaven. So I'm like, hey, do you want to Gloomhaven with me now? And she's like, just slow down. Just slow down. She's like, I'll entertain you for these 20 scenarios or so. But she's like, 80? What, like 90? What? No, I can't play that game that many times.
Yeah, I try to get my wife to play some new games, but her excuse is I don't want to learn a new board game tonight.
Oh, I
See-
hear that one quite often. I'm very persistent.
Ryan's strategy with that was to get her, dip your toe into Jaws of the Lion, because Frostgrave's coming real soon. What is it called? Frostgrave?
What-
Did I say Frostgrave?
Frost-
Frosthaven?
Frosthaven?
Frosthaven.
Frosthaven.
Yeah.
Man, I got like RPG stuff stuck in my head.
What about you, Norm? What was your favorite game of 2020?
I got to agree. Like there's nothing that it's got to be Jaws of the Lion for me too, because I have the ability to keep it set up. So I think one day I banged through. It was basically sitting, and finally I put it on the table and then pushed through 6 scenarios in one sitting, kind of thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
How many hours is that?
I don't want to talk about that.
They're about a half hour to an hour each scenario, maybe more.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
where
it's
you're
like
at.
3 to 6. That's not terrible.
Yeah. No, especially when it's 2 a.m. It's like, I should go to bed. I got to work in the morning.
Sound like me.
Well, I did bring Jaws of the Lion on vacation with me last year, and I played through 3 scenarios while I was on vacation because I was able to leave it up because we were kid free, so it was good. But my wife didn't want to play with me.
I'm at a constant dilemma. I'll go to set it up, and then I'll look at it and go, well, I need to paint these minis first. So I'll like start painting, and then like, well, I got to close these books up because I don't want to paint on the books. Okay, so and then all this is okay. I'm just painting minis now. So that's
That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't have the attention span for painting minis. I don't have that.
It's tough.
It's tough. It's fun though. All right, so are we all ready to vote a game off?
Yes. Okay, we are left with Merv, Rallyman GT, and Aeon's End Outcast. Let's vote a game off.
I really like this. I think we should like Norm. You don't mind being on every episode? You just do like sound effects. Is that cool?
I just want to remind you that I've had way too much coffee already.
I had a lot of coffee today too. I cut myself down to 1 a day, and now I think I had about 7 today. So
Well, if I just feed you
Nice.
like both coffee, you just like do sound effects. I'm up for that. Sounds great.
Sure.
The question of today's episode that we're going to discuss is, what mechanic in the game blew your mind? Describe originality, describe uniqueness, describe how you felt learning that mechanic. Okay, let's listen to everybody's answers.
I'm Jason.
I'm Julie, and together we're Dice and Dragons. So what mechanic blew our mind about Aeon's End Outcast? I mean, we alluded to it a little bit. I'm going to talk about it a little bit because then I know you're going to want to add a little bit more specificity to what I said. But I think the number one thing for me is the fact that you don't shuffle your deck. So when you start gaining cards...
This is a deck builder. In case you're just joining way late in the game, you should also go back and check out the other episodes. But just felt I should mention it just in case. Some people like to do things like that. I don't know why. I like to follow things in order. But sometimes it's fun to skip to the end.
He also likes to interrupt. So on that note...
Hey, you didn't say deck building, and I tried to do it politely.
Yes.
And at least, in line with why I'm doing it as well. Anyway, take it away.
So as you gain cards, you can put them in put them in your discard pile, but also there is an order to how you play things. You have to basically cast your spells first, and then the order you cast them in is the order you put them down. And then when you're out of cards, you basically flip your discard pile over and you start from the bottom becomes the top. So the order in which you play things basically is very important and comes back into play. And I think that the first time I was like, well, this is very odd. But once you get the hang of it, it's really important and comes into play. You can get all your powerful cards all at once if you time your cards well. So for me, it's a very original and very cool mechanic.
But you don't always want to get all your powerful cards at the same time. You really want to try to get it so that you get all the cards that work well together at the same time. And that can be very tricky because when you buy a card from the market, it then goes into your discard pile. And then you will get to place all of the gems that you've used in the order that you want back into your discard pile. So there's a lot of different things that you need to take into account. And that's where you might have to go for some risk versus rewards, because some of the nemesis abilities can be very nasty. They can force you to discard some of your very powerful spells, destroy those powerful spells, and can completely mess up your plan. But you may have that spell that, you can do 1 damage to the nemesis, or you can get it to line up with another card that's going to take that 1 damage up to 3, 4, or 5. So maybe you don't cast it, but then you've got to make a very tough decision sometimes, because it may be that last damage you need to get rid of the minion that's on the board that might do some nasty damage to you and your fellow mages. And that's what I really love about the game, is not just the fact that the deck building and not shuffling your deck are key, is that it goes with everything else that's on the board. You have to really consider what's happening in terms of those nemesis cards, the minions, the power cards, which will slowly count down to triggering unless you spend a certain amount of ether in order to get rid of it, which definitely caused us to lose some very powerful combos. But it's, it's that risk versus reward. Do we get rid of this thing so that we can pull a powerful combo off a little later, or do we go for the big combo now? And when you're trying to face off against a nemesis that maybe has like 60 to 70 health, you really need to make sure you're making the right decisions, because you're not always going to be able to get that health back. Now, fortunately in the game, if you do die, it's not the end for you, because you get to play, but you are severely weakened. Now, if all players are defeated at least once, well, then that's it. It is game over. But the system itself is really cool. What also I would say specifically about Aeons and Outcast that blew my mind was the addition of Zaxos. So you've been following this long enough now. We'll say who it is. It's fairly obvious if you look on the box, as the character that you have to protect, but who's also a breach mage, one that fell to the forces of darkness and was the enemy in one of the previous installments. So ally to enemy, back to ally. And what's really cool about him is that you can charge him up in order to cast very powerful spells from his deck that can just wreak a lot of havoc on the enemies, as well as potentially defend him or even heal up some of your allies. And that mechanic was really cool, combined with the light campaign aspect. What's really great about this game as well is that you can play it individually or go through the campaign. Now, since I talked about all of that, Julie, why don't you talk about the treasures and how do you feel about Zaxos?
Well, I thought it was pretty cool that what he could do. I love the fact that you always gain some treasures and some loot at the end of the game, and that you have to make decisions, sometimes hard decisions, about which ones you keep and which ones you don't. But I mean, I think that's part of the fun of the game.
And what about Zaxos?
I think he's pretty cool.
Just pretty cool. You were always trying to power him up to use that big blast of his to take out the nemesis.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. Those are the mechanics that blew our mind on Aeon's End. If you're a deck building fan and cooperative game fan, you need to check this one out. And that's the end of episode 4 for Dice and Dragons.
Hey there. This is Norm from Cardboard Conjecture and
Ryan from Cardboard Conjecture.
We're back for question 4, segment 4 of the Friday Night Games Invitational.
Friday
Games. So we are to Ryan. What game are we talking about?
Merv, Heart of the Silk Road by Osprey Games.
A beautiful Euro that is dripping with theme. Yes, like all good Euros.
So Norm,
yes,
what makes this game unique?
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that. And I've used this term before, the matrix of action programming. I truly believe that the city, which is composed of 5x5 tile grid of 5 different tracks of the board, that matrix, because once you travel the top. Okay, so so visualize a 5x5 grid. Your first turn is selecting from the top whatever row of all these buildings are. You put a house down, you collect the resource associated with it, and as you continue through the game in the rows and columns, if you pick your buildings and let's say in one row you have 3 of your buildings, well, you generate 3 resources. And here's the cool thing that I tried a couple times in a solo game is you are also able to, if you go, let's say I'm on the side, I'm on the eastern side, and I'm selecting rows. I can select a row that has 3 of Ryan's buildings, and I can pull resources from his let's say, influence on that block, but he also gains a resource from the specific building that I want to do the action on, the tracks. So
Yeah, that's a really cool thing where it's like I can activate
Yeah.
somebody else's areas of influence.
yeah, that matrix is just blows my mind away because of of course, the variability on the setup. The configuration isn't, I mean, math teacher, that's some crazy permutations, isn't it?
One thing that I really enjoyed about this too was that when you trigger an action, if you choose to do, like, say, the mosque track or the building of the walls action,
Yeah.
you don't just do the action once. You can do it as many times as you can afford or that you want.
Yeah.
That is something you don't see very often. It's like, hey, I've got a pile of resources here. I'm just going to just keep taking that. I'm going to trigger that monster and I'm just going to go up, 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 and up.
Yeah. Or if you go to the marketplace, I got a whole bunch of cubes. I'm gonna go
I can
do
cash
stuff.
them in for all of these resources that I
Yeah.
can pull for.
Fill-
I
fill-
can
fill
build
some
as
contracts and
I can build as many wall segments as I want, or type of thing. So whatever you can afford, you can do on your turn, which is really quite crucial because, like we've mentioned before, you only get 12 turns in this game. You want to make out the most out of anything that you do trigger.
Yeah. And I mean, like a good Euro, when you only have 12 turns, the 12th turn is going to be so different than your first turn because you want to have had developed or planned or produced a cascade or a windfall of resources every time you
Yeah.
trigger something.
Now, was that something difficult to wrap your head around? Was that something like for me, that was brand new? Like when I usually trigger an action, you only get to do it once.
Yeah.
This game, I can do it as many times. And sometimes in my early games, I forgot that I could do that I could do it multiple times in one go. So
Yeah. So one question here that is required of us to talk about is describe the originality. Now, I can look at this from two different angles. A Euro resource game isn't really original, but the way that they took the theme and created this city, and the city is the matrix of potential possibilities of actions, that to me it was so original. The only the closest thing I could see of this whole matrix, and you picking whichever one, the game that we played at FallCon. Oh, what is it called again? Ulm. Yes. Sorry for that pause. I had to look in my collection. But Ulm has that 3x3 grid of you picking, okay, I get these three actions. This takes that idea in my head and explodes it onto a grand scale of a 5x5 grid. And that to me is so delicious.
yeah, there's a lot of really good things going for this game. It's doing things that I never thought possible in other Euro games.
Yeah. Well, simply like the fact that I can trigger your buildings, right? I mean, yeah. So that's and as I'm saying this, that's another strategy I want to approach is I don't necessarily have to have a bunch of my buildings. I mean, it scores me points, but maybe
and that really flushes out in the higher player counts when the population of that board is much more busy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think
that's what we believe are the most unique and original things about Merv.
Heart of the Silk Road.
Heart of the Silk Road.
What's up, everyone? I'm Justin Maycat here with my brother, Matthew Maycat.
Hey, everybody.
And we are Room 51, where we talk all things board gaming. And now in this episode, we're going to talk about what mechanic in Rallyman GT blew our mind. So this one's an interesting one. What was the one you came up with?
So for me, now there's nothing in Rallyman GT that does exceptionally like different, right? It's not like whoa, like a legacy game, like the first legacy game to come out or something like that. But for me, I really liked the rolling of the dice and the allocating of gears for those dice. Like, so it's like you could have where you go up to gear 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, and then you could also like cruise along. So there's these different kinds of dice. You allocate them, and then you decide, am I going to push my luck, right? Am I going to roll all of them? Will I spin out, right? I liked that a lot, where you're sort of, it's the dice placement almost, a dice allocation, and then a possible press your luck on top of that for a racing game, which I don't think has quite been done for a racing game before. So that's sort of the thing that I guess blew my mind, right? And drew me into this game.
Yeah, actually, for me, it's kind of similar, and I agree. There's nothing about it that particularly blew my mind, but when reading the whole dice allocating and all that kind of stuff, I was very excited when I read about the hard breaking dice, when you really want to, slam down on the brakes entering the corner. So you're deciding, let me try to go from third gear all the way down to first gear very quickly for this corner. So now you have to roll this hard breaking die that's going to make it extra tricky. So it's like it makes it possible to do something like that, but now you're adding an extra risk factor for you. And I really liked reading about that mechanic and then playing with that mechanic. That mechanic just feels so fitting to be like this extra level of push your luck now in this racing game. That made sense. You're trying to really dive into the corner and it might not work out for you, but if you land it right, you're good.
Yeah, I remember so Justin was the one who taught me this game. And I remember when he was teaching it to me, I was like, okay, that's cool. That's exciting, man.
Right.
I like that. Like it brings the excitement of the race into the game, which I think a lot of racing board games don't necessarily have, like that excitement, the thrill of like, oh man, who's going to take it? Who's going to push in the lead? And then like having that also like the person who's like all the way in back, like they could make a comeback and you don't know. So like, I love that it brings that thrill of the game. So that is the thing that blew my mind. And that is also episode 4. We will check you back here for episode 5 for Friday Night Games. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, we're back. There's only 3 games left.
Right.
So this should be pretty fun. So let's vote. Let's just vote. And when you vote, I want to hear your defense. So just so everyone knows, everyone's going to be... So John's going to vote. Ryan's going to have a vote. Norm's going to have a vote. And then the other 3 content creators, which are Room 51, Dice and Dragons, and Girl Meets Nerd, all had a single vote.
And the tiebreaker today is going to be determined by whoever answered our Instagram story. So we switched it up. So Matt doesn't have to vote.
Yeah, I actually have a really hard time voting. I'm just like, I don't want to do it because I actually love all these games. I can't just like vote one off.
Matt didn't think he was going to have to tie break as much as he has been. So.
Yeah, I was like maybe once.
And your Canadian kicks in.
Yeah.
You just feel so bad and sorry.
I do.
So I say that every episode that the guests vote first.
Okay, let's do it. Who wants to go first?
Age before beauty. Take it away, Norm.
Oh, see, and that's why I don't have my picture turned on because So explain before I tell you who I vote.
You can tell us who you vote and then explain immediately after.
See, well, okay. Here's the thing, because we're getting down to a very tight set of choices, right? Mm-hmm. And like every Top Chef show that I watch, it gets down to the details, the small incidentals that that separate the group. And for me, they were all so strong. The only thing that separated was this, I'm going to use one of my favorite words, this conundrum I had. And it was
a cardboard conundrum?
Hey, a cardboard conundrum. That it was that one of the games was already previously published as that same game. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of like, it's a clone. And here's the thing. I love that game. I'm currently playing the legacy version of that game. Mm-hmm. It's my favorite deck builder. Mm-hmm. So that's where I'm so sorry, but I have to vote off Eon's End. And yes, Eon is the proper way to pronounce it.
Eon's End.
Yeah.
Eon's End? Yeah.
I just learned something today.
I've been pronouncing it Aeon's End forever. So
everybody does because Rado did. So, and I think that's
Oh,
but
I see.
Yeah, if you Google it, and the American standard pronunciation is Eon, and I am probably 2% of the people that pronounce it that way.
You and my wife. I think my wife called me out on it too.
Yeah, she probably would.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason. I feel so sorry, Jay. That's the only reason that I'm gonna separate that one from the herd. is because it's yeah.
It's tough. It is really tough too. I mean, you could. Well, I'll let Ryan go first, and then I'll explain. I'll let all three of you vote, and then I'll explain some things about all three games.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ryan. What about you?
Okay, well, can I just say ditto? Because he totally stole all the exact same things that I was probably going to say about, because we were talking about mechanics this time around and to make yourself stand out, and this was I don't know if there's much about this version of Eon's End that would set it apart from all of the other ones, and so reusing a mechanic was it. Yeah, so sorry, Jason, Julie, we love you guys. I'm voting off Eon's End.
This is tough. This is tough for me because listening to everyone's answers and then
This is why you like going last, eh?
I do. No, listen. Sorry, not everyone's answers for voting, but listen to everyone's answers on what mechanic blew their mind, and just to hear Room 51 say, "I liked throwing dice," and I was like, "What? No." But what's gonna slide Rallyman GT into the next round for me is the gear shifting aspect of it. Mechanic with the gear shifting, which I really enjoyed when we played. I know it's just a dice chucker. I'm having a hard time putting forward a dice chucker again, but I'm going to have to because of the gear shifting mechanic. So I am going to agree with everyone else today, and Eon's End is going to be my vote.
Wow.
Just because they've used the same mechanic over again, right?
There's
and it's just
too many deck builders this year.
Yeah, there's a lot of deck builders, yeah. So, I mean, it's a good game. I had fun playing it. We were during the podcast episode last week, I purchased the game to have it, and
confirmed.
Yep. So, I mean, but I don't think it's going to be our final episode. I'm sorry. Sorry, Jason. And Julie.
Wow, that's really interesting too. So just as a little note, Rallyman GT is actually not an original game either.
Right.
It's actually a re-implementation of 2008 game called Rallyman.
Yeah.
And uses all the same mechanics too. So it's interesting that Rallyman GT and Aeon's End, which are both re-implementations, have made it this far. Merv is actually, of the three, is actually the most original. I mean, it's original. It's a Euro game, but the grid. I mean,
whoa! Yeah, no, it is original. There's nothing like Merv out there.
There is not. No, there is not. It has a lot of sweet rules to it, and it's pretty complicated though. It's pretty complicated.
I actually thought it was a retro game about Merv Griffin. So I was a little taken off when I found out it was about history.
You're disappointed, even though
I thought it was like game show, 70s sequins, and it wasn't. It was about pushing cubes, but I loved it.
Yeah. I agree with you too, Norm, on the very first point of Top Chef, because I really love that show, and that was one of the inspirations for this. Yeah, it is like you're getting to the. I mean, honestly, all five was really hard to vote off any of them, which is when I had to vote the previous episodes. I was just like, I don't want to do this, and it actually took me off guard. I'm like, oh, it's pretty clear this one's gonna go, and then it didn't, and then I'm like, oh my, I have to vote now, and I was just totally shocked. And I'm like, they're all good games for different reasons, right? So it's hard to put them all up against each other.
And it's not like it's getting voted off because he paired fish with cheese, right? I mean, it's
yeah.
That's
laughing right here. Taken aback. Yeah. So on that note, I don't have to vote.
Perfect.
and we did that poll for no reason.
No, we did it for a reason.
For next time too. Okay.
Can we hear what everybody else voted?
Yes, we can. So right now we have. So Ryan has Eon's End, Norm has Eon's End, John has Aeon's End. Girl Meets Nerd voted for Aeon's End, I think because they wanted their deck builder to win. So if their deck builder couldn't win, no deck builder can win.
There you go.
Room 51 actually chose Merv. And
what?
And don't apologize to Jason and Julie because they also chose Merv.
Hey, they're out for us. They voted for us like every week now, I think.
Have they?
I have no idea.
I
know they voted off.
I have the other sheet here. I can tell you who voted. Oh, yeah. One of them did vote for you last episode. Yeah, they did. They voted for you every episode.
They have it against the Euros. They have it against the Euro.
Oh yeah.
But so anyway, so based on mechanic, so okay, is Aeon's End, I get where everyone's coming from. It's a re-implementation, but I actually think Rallyman GT has the less mind-blowing mechanic out of those three games.
That was my runner-up vote.
Yeah, because I mean, it's just John. You just said it. It's just a dice chucker.
Yeah, I know. So there's something about it though.
It's a good game.
Yeah.
That's what's about it. And the re-implementation, it's even though it's re-implementation, it's still a very good game. Like I love it, but I don't think it's like the most complicated game, which is actually a good thing. We don't want like necessarily a super complicated game. We want a game everyone can play, right? So maybe that's why. But man, I actually love Eon's End too. So it was kind of sad to see it go.
I'm playing the Legacy, like I'm doing a solo playing the Legacy count, and I love it.
It's
Absolutely
good.
love it.
It's good.
Yeah.
I played through that one too. You can probably see it behind me on my shelf, but man, and I love like in the episode they mentioned how the deck you don't shuffle, and I think that is just so cool because like you plan for it, right? You plan to pick cards on purpose and put them on the pile on purpose so you can get them sooner or line them up with other cards that make them more powerful. And I think
or hold them back in your hand so that you can push it down into the running order a little bit more.
Yeah, and most deck builders don't have that. Most deck builders, you just play your hand.
Yeah.
And whatever you don't play gets discarded, right? And this one, it's like, oh, you're gonna, you hold it, so you get the plan to use it. And man, it's clever.
To me, the only one that comes close to it is like Bonanza in regards to you cannot organize the order in which they come off the top of your deck. And I've always thought that was an interesting tactical decision that you have to make every time.
Yeah, yes, I agree, and I think it definitely adds to the gameplay. So and you mentioned it's hard to like choose what game, and at this point they're all so good. They're all 5 games were fantastic actually. So it is definitely really hard to vote one off. But sorry, Jason and Julie, Aeon's End's gone.
Now, would Merv be more thematic if a person put like happy faces on all the cubes?
I actually think Merv's pretty thematic. Am I crazy? I think Castles of Tuscany was not thematic. Actually, on that note, let's listen to the two losers. So let's listen to the mind-blowing mechanics of Fort and the mind-blowing mechanics of Castles of Tuscany.
Hey there, I'm Megan.
And I'm Tristan.
And we're the co-hosts of the Girl Meets Nerd podcast, here to tell you why Fort of Leader Games is the best game of 2020 and why it should be the last game standing. Today we're talking about game mechanics and what makes Fort so fabulous. As we've mentioned before, the mechanics in this game make it incredibly easy to learn, but very difficult to win at because there's so many different ways that you can win the game, and how you play other people and how you kind of mess up their strategy really impacts the game. But there were a couple mechanics that really blew our minds. So Tristan, what was yours?
The mechanic that blew my mind in Fort is the stealing friends mechanic. So at the end of your turn, after you've played your cards, or at the end of the round, other players have the opportunity to draw a new card at the beginning of their turn. And they can either take from the deck, or they can take from the cards that you have played. So the cards that you don't end up playing go up for grabs.
Because, you haven't paid attention to your friends.
Because you haven't paid attention to those friends. So the cards that you want to stay in your deck, you have to continue using, or you risk another player's fort attracting that friend and them stealing that card.
Ooh.
I really love that element because the cards that you are dealt or that you're picking aren't yours forever. Or other cards that are really powerful, if another player has a way to score points that doesn't involve that really powerful card, you have the opportunity to snag that card. I like that.
Yeah, it's definitely hard as well as the player with the good cards to keep the cards you want without having to play them every time. It's so interesting.
What was a mechanic that blew your mind?
Mine for sure is the made-up rules. So the made-up rules, again, are secret objectives that you get during the game that help you win at the end. And so they're all called really funny things. You've got Sleepover, which is at the end of the game, you score 8 points if you have the most cards. So if you have the most friends. Or there's Slime Lab. So at the end of the game, you get 1 point per book card you have. So because there's different suits of the different cards. or Pizza Party, which gives you points for how many pizzas you have.
Secret pizza party.
And a lot of games have this mechanic. Like, it's not something super innovative, but I love the way that they've incorporated it into the theme.
Yes.
Because it's kind of like at the end of a game when a kid is losing, they can make up a rule so that they win. And this aspect is not only really great for the theme, but also has won and lost a couple games
Totally.
in the past.
It just comes through crazily in the theme of like, actually I had a pizza party between games, so that gives me extra points.
Yeah, exactly. Or like, oh, well, I invited more friends to my birthday, so I win.
I get 2 points for every friend that I invited, and you get opposite of that.
Or like, well, I made friendship bracelets, so now everybody's my friend and you don't get any. Like, it's really all over the place, and I love the way that they've integrated that into the game. Again, it kind of comes down to the way that all of these mechanics fit together is so awesome. There's also one mechanic that isn't particularly mind-blowing, but another hilarious one, which is the macaroni sculpture. So basically, if you build your fort, like, the biggest first, you get this macaroni castle, which just makes absolutely no sense. But it's just a great way to give somebody points while, again, sticking with the theme. It's so awesome. The way that Fort integrates its competitive and complex mechanics into the theme is why we believe that Fort should be the last board game standing.
John, let me ask you, what mechanic in Castles of Tuscany, really blew our mind, is original, unique, you felt like learning that mechanic?
When I look back to when we played the Castles of Burgundy, we were kind of overwhelmed with everything that was going on. And when we played Tuscany, we noticed that it gave a similar experience to Burgundy, but everything was just sort of easier and way more accessible.
When you play Tuscany, there seems like there's a lot of components, probably because there's just a lot of tiles, but after one playthrough, you'll get what everything does. You'll figure out the strategy on, what pieces to try and pull. You'll actually have like a favorite tile you're going to try to aim for. It makes sense, right? And then Burgundy relies on like dice, which is totally stupid. No one wants to rely on like random throwing dice, okay? This game relies on cards. You draw cards and you play pairs to play your tiles, which is way smarter.
Going off Burgundy, it relies on a lot of area being covered to score points, while 3 is the maximum amount that you will place in Tuscany.
Right. And how long was Burgundy?
Oh, I don't know. I think that took us like 6 hours to play, it felt like.
Yeah, I don't even think we finished it.
It took all night, and we played like Tuscany like 3 times in one night.
Yeah, which was awesome. So overall, you get that Burgundy experience. You have the same type of like, there's a million tiles and they all do different things and you're covering area to get points. But it's at a way faster pace in Tuscany and it's a quicker learning curve. And that blew us away, right?
Yeah, that was just like, it was really awesome to see and like bring it to the table and have other people in our group who normally don't play these types of games with us actually sit down and enjoy it and want to play it repeatedly.
Right. So technically, like, it had the mechanics of Burgundy, but simplified them and made them like way better.
Mm-hmm.
And it had all the same different paths to win, just like Burgundy. So I think that was awesome. Are you going to focus on your hand, workers, marble, bonus cards? Are you going to try and focus on a specific tile you're trying to collect?
Yeah, like the strategies to win this game can be different for every player, and I think that's super cool.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's a mechanic. I think we totally dodged what mechanic blew our mind, but that's okay. So, don't vote.
The grid coverage and hexagon and tile placement was really cool.
Yeah, and that was totally not in Burgundy. Don't vote it off. Don't vote Tuscany
Don't vote it off.
Vote Burgundy off if it's up there. We know it's not, but you should vote off. All right. And we're back. So, judging by what we heard about Fort and Castles of Tuscany, do you think that those should have been more in the running? Like, would they have won if they were still on the show? Like, would they have stayed?
I feel like you and I didn't do a good job of loving the game in our descriptions. So that's probably on us why it was eliminated round 1.
I'm just going to say this. I don't care if our game wins. I just want to have fun with it.
Right.
Right? Like, I'm all about humor and jokes, so, like, I don't even care if our game wins at all. You might, I think you're a little more competitive than me, so you probably care.
No, I don't really care that much
Okay.
about our game winning. I just like doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
I think for Fort, though, I think what mechanic I like in that game is, I forget what it's called now, but where you tuck the cards under in your treehouse. The treehouse. And use the symbols to add on to like your purchase power, if I'm correct on how that works. It's been a while since I played Fort, but
Yeah.
Fort's a really good game, but yeah, I voted it off last week
due to
for
inclusion.
theme, right?
Yeah, you did.
So yeah, I still wouldn't put pizza in my backpack.
Yeah, I would have. Fort would have had a chance during this round, because the other mechanic I loved in that game was that the cards that you didn't play go into your front yard, and then other people can recruit the cards out of your, like, you don't see that in other deck building or card games where people are literally culling your deck for you, but at their benefit.
Right. Same thing. I like of course I'm all about, seeing some theme and everything. The fact that these other kids can go play with everybody else if you don't want them to come play with you, right? Yeah, I totally dug that mechanism.
Yeah, I thought
but
that.
I'm not sure Castles of Tuscany would have made it.
No, Castles. I gotta be honest. I don't think Castles of Tuscany would have made it past theme. To be honest, it would have just because like I know both of you are championing Merv, and you're saying it doesn't have as much theme, but I actually think Merv has a ton of theme to it. Like when you look at it, the way that the Mongols attack the walls, and like you have the open market and the trading of spices. I actually think it's like full of theme. Whereas like Castles of Tuscany is like, we just have these tiles, and you're like, oh, I'm building a farm. Why? I don't know. I'm doing it.
I think what helps a lot with Merv too is Ian O'Toole's artwork is like stellar. Like the fact that he's able to just with the colors and the graphic choices, the suspension of disbelief that okay, I can kind of buy into the fact that there's this thematic connection with all of these things. But again, ultimately, it's a Euro, right? You know.
No, totally.
I'll admit it. There's no minis.
There should be.
Yeah, well, there should be. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, so I guess does it change our decision? So I actually think Fort, if it was in, would definitely make it past this round.
Yeah.
I think Aeon's. I keep saying Aeon's End, but we discussed this. I'm going to go with Aeon's End. It's Aeon's End.
Well, it's Canadian, right? Aeon's End, eh? Come on, eh?
Yeah, Aeon's End. It's at the hockey rink. That's where you play it. So Fort would have stayed past, and Aeon's End might have been eliminated earlier. And Castles of Tuscany, it's no surprise why it's out. So there we go. Okay. So that leaves us with 2 games left, which is awesome. So the 2 games left are Merv, Heart of the Silk Road, and Rallyman GT. So definitely tune in next week, where Girl Meets Nerd will be on that episode to vote the champion. So if you want to check it out next Friday, or you could stick around right now, and Ryan and Norm from Bridge City Boardgamers are going to turn the table on us, and we're going to chat it up a bit.
Nice.
Yay.
Yeah.
Woohoo.
So what do you guys want to talk about?
So Norm totally has no idea what I'm going to say right now. I just have something that I'm spitballing because we're teachers, and we just hit summer break.
Nice.
Yeah, on summer break. So I thought we'd have like a little discussion about, things possibly coming out of quarantine and pandemics are lifting possibly soonish. What are the summertime games that you want to play?
Yeah, that's exactly
what
what
are
I
the
was
games you
going
want to play this summer?
Oh, wow. That's like $1 million question, because we haven't played games in a long time.
I don't know. For me, I think I just want to tackle, like, Matt and I haven't been reaching out to companies and asking for review copies or whatever.
Well, there's been no point for us because if a company sends us something, right? I'm going to play it solo. You're going to play it solo. I mean, this is prior to a week ago,
right?
Which would be prior to June 30th, right? Yeah. So we couldn't even get together.
Right.
So it's like a company sends us something and they're like, oh, we want you to review, we want you to play it. It's like, well, sorry, like, we can't. And usually, like, our pattern is I learn the game, then you and whoever else comes over and plays it generally.
Yeah. So I think We have one game we have to play for a publisher when we can, so maybe I'll bring that on our official first board game day back. But I think I just want to tackle some of the games we haven't played. So there's like Forgotten Waters. That's the only one I can think of right now.
Actually, Forgotten Waters would be the biggest summertime game.
Yeah.
I think because it plays from like 3 to 6 hours. So I think that would be like a great thing. Like, hey, let's get together on a Saturday and this is all we're going to do. Kind of like when we used to do our D&D nights.
Right.
It'd be super cool to just load that out and like, this is all we're going to do. We're going to order pizza halfway through, make sure we know the game ahead of time and just do that, you know?
That's kind of funny because I walked into Ryan's room and said, hey, I got an idea. I often would go on the fishing trips with, the guys' weekend fishing trips. And I thought, well, why doesn't a person do that for board games? Just go, rent a cabin.
We were
for the
talking
weekend,
about that.
We were.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, keep going.
Yeah, no, because I mean, when I go fishing with the guys, and some of them are like, yeah, drinking weekend. I'm thinking I can do that at home. I can't fish at 5 a.m. till the sun goes down.
Right.
Where I live. Right. So for me, it's like if I'm here to fish. So it's that idea of all right. The moment we get in, you drop your stuff into where you're sleeping, and one person's responsible for setting up that first game, and it's like we don't stop playing until either if you pass out, right? Just have someone flick your ear when it's your turn, and then it's okay. I hate dice, right? And then so yeah, no, that's my idea.
Norm, what game is it though?
See,
$1 million question, right?
Okay,
Dominant
what's the
Species.
first game?
Dominant
Species.
Species. Yeah, nice. That's super thick and juicy.
I mean, what's the most social thing you can do after being in quarantine with your friends but devour them and wipe them off the face of the planet?
I was gonna say another good one's Twilight Imperium. I've never played. I've always wanted to play. I know it's a super long game, and that would definitely be that lockdown in a cabin. That's all we're gonna do for 10 hours.
See that one's my pick because during quarantine, the expansion Prophecy of Kings came in, and that expands the game to 8 players, and I want to have a massive 8-player like epic just all day negotiating, backstabbing, spaceship battles going on left, right, and center. Like that's what I want to do. The first one that we get a big game day going.
Nice. That sounds amazing. Have both of you listen to our show when we had Michael from Apex Tube on?
I have not listened to that one.
Oh, I haven't.
He actually talks about Twilight Imperium, and him and his friends play it. Well, they used to play it fairly often prior to the pandemic, but they would make it would actually be their thing. It would be like their Saturday thing. They would all get together, they play it. I think he said it's best if you're only teaching one person the game because it's so complicated, right? If you're teaching everybody, it's just it's a disaster apparently.
Yeah, but I'm probably going to do one of those at our front local game store, Amazing Stories.
Nice.
I used to do just like it would be like a full like, hey, everybody's new. I'm going to teach everybody the game, and it's like we're all day like 10 a.m. till like supper time type of thing.
Nice.
And turn them into junkies. Yeah, Brian's all about turn them into junkies, then he can just put out the call. Yay, I'm in.
Yeah, well, there's a guy in our Bridge City Boardgamers Facebook group. He during the pandemic, when they could actually have some people there, he turned his garage into like a war room, and so like all the tables were like 6 feet apart, and there was two factions,
poker tables,
two factions per table, plexiglass in between.
Wow.
Type of thing. And if you wanted to take your turn, you walked yourself into the middle table where the whole thing was set up. He says, I'm announcing that this is happening, type of thing. And then the negotiations are happening back and forth all around. Everybody's yelling across the garage. And I just thought that was like epic. I was like, oh, I can't believe I missed that.
Yeah, he should have filmed it. That would have been hilarious to watch too. Like a real council meeting,
Now, could we push this kind of like wish list idea for the summer into this, if all rules were off kind of thing?
Sure.
Ultimately, and I think Ryan and I have talked about this, it's like, man, with this community that we've created with the What You've Been Playing, we need to just all meet in one place for a weekend and just cardboard craze.
Oh, you just named the convention.
The cardboard craze.
You just named
it. Sounds like a dance too.
B-52s, man.
I would love that. I would definitely love to like do one of the Canadian conventions or something. I don't know if there's any out in Saskatoon. I don't know what conventions.
Well, you never know. We might have too much time on our hands.
BCBCon or
Well, we
What
used
you've
to
been playing, Con? That'd be kind of cool.
we before we went into isolation, we would, as Ryan would say, we'd try to have these smaller events to teach people how to play, and we would call them cardboard retreats. That's yeah, I know.
You guys are so teachers.
It's all about branding, right?
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, I'm all about the idea of like, well, we got this momentum and this small, idea with the cardboard retreat. How is it expandable? Can we pump some, nitrous oxide into this thing and make it rev a little faster, or blow the engine up completely?
But what games did you end up teaching at the cardboard retreats?
Well, we
had one that was focused solely on capstone games.
Oh,
so like we had between Norm and I, we have like almost the whole catalog of capstone games. So we had that one. We did a Stonemaier day where we just had Stonemaier games. Like we had Tapestry, Scythe, Wingspan, Viticulture going on that day. There's a whole bunch of teaches on that one.
Just before ISO, we had a Felduary thing.
Yeah, we were doing Felduary, where the entire community, we had a whole bunch of people bought in that they only were just playing Steffenfeld games for the month of February.
That's cool. So
it was crazy. It was crazy that it even caught on.
So how would that happen? Like, I go to the store, each of you is teaching a different game, or are each of you is teaching the same game to two groups? Like, how would that?
However, like it's
it was totally
show up and what do you want us to teach you? What do you want to play, or what are you interested in? Or it would just be like tutorials kind of thing.
Like I'm a freak of nature where I have like 300 different rule books in my mind that I can just like pull off to my imaginary shelf in my brain and say, okay, I'm teaching this game right now. Let's go.
Ryan's a math teacher.
He's the evil villain from Sherlock BBC in season 2.
Moriarty. Is that the
no, the guy with the mind palace where it's like same thing as Sherlock.
Yeah, is that Moriarty or is that someone else?
I forget what the character's name is, but yeah, Ryan's got that evil genius mind palace when it comes to rule books.
Nice.
That's also why I have AP during games. Because I'm calculating I'm calculating all the permutations and combinations.
You're thinking back to all the rule books, and you're like, which game is this like? Which strategy can I ring up? Right?
Or I'm just like, hey, that person played this game that way. I'm going to try to play it that way now, and I'm going to try to incorporate a little bit of Ryan spice into this mix too. And
be warned.
And then everything backfires because I get the Will Wheaton effect, where everybody just gangs up on me no matter what.
I know how that feels.
That's a TI4 reference. I think he's pulling off. Ryan's getting quiet. What's he doing?
He's calculating.
Just one.
It's like, what's that bachelor party with Zach Galifianakis?
The Hangover.
The Hangover. Thank you. Yeah, Ryan's like that. Just numbers flying across his head.
Hangover 1, Hangover 2, Hangover 3.
All of them. No, that's really cool. I actually would recommend the two of you do like teaching at a convention for like some of the board game companies, because we did that for Mission to Planet Hex and it was awesome, and I would do it again for another company. Unfortunately, we can't go to the States because of the border closure, but if I could, I would definitely recommend that, because you get into the convention for free, you teach all day long, you learn, and then you can like do your own thing, which is pretty
cool. Because that was one thing that I was kind of doing just like willy-nilly right before pandemic hit. We went to FallCon in Calgary, and that's kind of like just kind of what I did was I kind of just wandered around, and I'm just like, hey, those folks are playing this game. They have the little sign that says, hey, we need somebody to teach this game. And I'm like, I sit down, I'm like, hey folks, I'm around for Bridge City Boardgamers. We're gonna play this game now. And
that's
like,
awesome.
And then they look like me, they're like, what's going on right
hey, who's this guy?
And that's he's doing this.
You have too much personality for us.
Yeah. You're freaking us out. Yeah. As I'm looking at Ryan going, I'm gonna get a coffee. Yeah, no, that FallCon was a cool. Calgary FallCon was a great convention, I guess, because it was a lot of open gaming. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it was great. I'd recommend it to anybody who's out here in the West.
Right. Is there is Shucks is that one in Vancouver?
That's Vancouver.
Yeah, okay, so that's a big one too.
Well, and Terminal City Tabletop Convention is another one in Vancouver that Meeple Dungeon Rob, that's where I first met him.
Oh,
and,
really?
Anne Marie, yeah.
That's awesome.
And again, it was about, I would say, now Ryan didn't go to that one, but I'd say about the same size as FalCon. There's a few big rooms of open gaming and publishers. And so, yeah, that would be definitely another one that I would consider, participating in when things allow so.
Yeah,
I'm never going to say get back to normal.
Yeah, Norm had nothing but good things to say about Terminal City Con. And I was actually like, I'm full steam ahead. I'm going to Terminal City Con, and then COVID.
Oh yeah.
We hit a wall, and I was like plane tickets are like I'm like they're right here on my fingertip. I'm just gonna push the button.
Oh.
The plane tickets are gonna be bought.
Yeah.
And then my wife's like, yeah, pause.
I had the same issue too, because I was actually planning on going to Gen Con 2020 and Origins 2020, and I had the hotels booked and everything, and I was actually preparing all my stuff and like where I was gonna be, and of course we're friends with Jim Fitzpatrick from Mission to Planet Hex, so I'm like, when am I gonna meet up with him? I was like making plans, and then everything just kind of happened. And it was sad because that would have been the first year I would have got media passes to both events, because we went to Gen Con before, but I didn't have a media pass, so it was just sort of like a regular schmuck walking around. And then PAX Unplugged, I was too shy to apply for a media pass, and I guess I could have, but I just kind of like was just trying to check it out because I didn't really know anything about, it's kind of, I'm kind of like a planner, so when I go, I try to learn as much as possible to take it all in, to plan how to handle next year. You know what I mean?
You're talking to two teachers when you say, I'm kind of a planner. Yeah. We do that professionally. Awesome.
Well, like I said, I was a substitute teacher. I had long terms for a while. So I think it comes with that territory of planning. Like even if you can't see it, but I have like a OneNote in front of me that I planned out, just like a lesson plan, so that we could, do these things organized, right?
You mentioned PAX Unplugged. I adore Philadelphia. My brother used to live there, and I've spent so much time there, and yeah, it's as far as destinations go, if anybody likes going to, these larger cities, yeah, Philadelphia by far is spectacular. And the food, like you probably went to the Reading Market.
Yes, Reading Market's attached to the convention center, so it is so easy to get delicious food.
And for those who don't know, the bit of history is on the Monopoly board, the Reading Railroad. It's actually Reading Railroad, and that's the Reading Market of the Monopoly board.
Oh, that's amazing.
I learned another thing today.
And they have the best pork sandwiches there. Oh,
I wish Norm was my teacher back in high school. Let me tell you.
Right? We're going to do a food tour. Yeah.
But so convention-wise, like going to Gen Con and going to PAX Unplugged, and PAX South, I actually like PAX Unplugged the most out of all three of those.
I've heard many, many good things.
Yeah.
Many good
things. It's kind of like Ryan, you said you were walking around. Which con was it? Not Terminal Con.
FalCon.
So very similarly, they have the exact same thing. That you can go. They have a board game. All the conventions have a board game library, but they have the same thing where they have like a sign you could put down. It's like looking for people, looking for teachers. It is so cool, and like going from Gen Con and going to that, I felt like PAX Unplugged was completely full, and you couldn't find a table, and everyone was playing games at night, and I'm just like, this is amazing.
Yeah, PAX to me sounds like the kind of convention that I'd love to go to with a T-shirt on the back that says "Can't talk, playing board games."
Yes, and the PAX Unplugged actually comes after Essence Spiel, so all the Essence Spiel games are at PAX Unplugged too, which is huge because they have like a sign-up sheet for all the Essence Spiel stuff that isn't out yet, so you can actually like play all of it if you get in line for that. And it's super cool.
That would be the torment you could ever do to yourself. I'm going to play a game that I'm going to fall in love with that I can't see for another year. Well, that's the trouble of being Canadian.
Yeah.
No. Norm, that's my problem. That's not your problem. That's my problem. I can't have it now.
I want it now.
Fear of missing out over there. Yeah, that's or the Canadian fear of missing out, because I don't think it's a fear of missing out. I think it's Canadian missing out.
Yeah.
We just get it later, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you just see
whenever a new game is released, you just got to stay off social media because all the Americans and the UK people, they all have it way before we do.
Oh yeah, and then we get it, and they're like, "Oh, your Canadians are all old news over there." Waving.
I know. I feel like I get a game. I want to do an unboxing video, but I'm like, but BGG, there's already 50 unboxing videos for this game. What's the point?
You know what? That should be your angle. What's the point? And you're like, you just take out the box and you're like, you just dump it on the table and that's it. And you like turn the camera off and you're like, what's the point? Million views guaranteed.
Well, here's the piece of cardboard that if you were watching Meeple University, they already talked about this thing, and before you play, they're already talking about that thing. So then,
Right,
hey, no one's read the credits on the
Yeah.
back of the rule book.
This is ingenious.
I'm gonna
like a sarcastic unboxing video.
Yeah, basically you sit there with a cigarette and an ashtray and go, I'll unbox this, but or talk about this, but Man versus Meeple did it better, so go see them. And then butt out the cigarette.
That's actually like the most Canadian thing, right? We're always like, I feel like as Canadians, we're always like, yeah, we're okay, but you should check out this person.
Yeah.
Or yeah, I'm okay, but you should look at this person.
Yeah. I'd unbox this, but this channel does it better, so hey, you can stick around if you want, eh?
We have 8 weeks off here for the summer. I'm gonna put a couple of these together.
If you put one together, I will promote the hell out of it. I will like put it up on all social media. I will try and just spin it on tweets and stuff as much as possible. I'll do it like once a day for like months.
If we wanted to take this to the maximum, we would just have to do some research on Bob and Doug McKenzie and just dress up like them and just do the coffee table session with the Coleman stove right beside it.
I was gonna say me and John could be Wayne's World, Wayne and Garth, I think.
Oh yeah. Wait.
Hey John, I got this crazy game.
Living in your parents' basement. We got to go to your parents' basement then.
Oh my God. Well, we did live in my parents' basement forever.
Yeah.
My brother still lives in my parents' basement, so that all works out.
There you go.
We'll have Jay in the background.
Oh. I love all of this thing that we are talking about. This is amazing.
They're great ideas.
This is what this community is about.
And Ryan's laughing because he's going, Norm will have one done by tomorrow. Yeah.
I was like, he's going to pop a shot of espresso. And
I had espresso at 11, so I figured, I got 3 hours. Why not?
Jeez. Hey.
It's like that Mike Myers character off of SNL. It's like, my mom gave me a Coke and a Mars bar, and I towed our car all the way home.
Yeah.
Oh,
no, not that bad. Not that bad.
I know espresso is pretty intense, so you're gonna be flying off the walls. I think. Have 2 videos done. Yeah. Just don't smoke any cigarettes. I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
We can't promote that.
No. It'll be just nail biting and just that.
No, it would end up him flicking the bud and lighting the game on fire.
Oh, nice idea! Right, you're full of man.
Yeah. And then little Martin Short would come up and be like, oh my god, and you'd start hammering it with a pillow, and then the pillow catches fire.
Like your house is on fire, but you're still sitting there like you don't care.
Yeah.
Then they're like, you recommend I don't know, someone else does house fires better. Oh my, this is just...
Well, if we're gonna do some themes, isn't there Flashpoint? Well, let's talk about Flashpoint while this place is catching fire.
Just bringing the meta to another level.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right, so very, very huge apology for not having you on sooner. Very Canadian apology, and a lot of thank yous for being on our show. We very appreciate you too, and we think it's awesome that you did this with us. So thank you for being on.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for putting this on. It's been a hoot.
Yeah, this is total fun.
If you like what you hear, don't forget to follow us on your favorite streaming platform and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. You can check us out on Instagram at FridayNightGames_official, Twitter at FridayNightGMS, and always our website, FridayNight.games. And again, I'm John.
I'm Matt.
And it's Friday night, so let's have some fun.
Thanks, everyone.